Adolf Hitler is a historical figure who has been extensively studied and analyzed. But there are several lesser known aspects of his personality, background, and behaviors that remain intriguing. These facets, while not necessarily altering the course of history, but do provide a deeper insight into his character and psyche. Here are some of the peculiar or the lesser known things about Hitler. Hitler was vegetarian. Hitler is often associated with cruelty, but he was in fact a vegetarian for much of his adult life, particularly from the mid 1930s onwards. He was strongly opposed to the killing of animals and made personal decisions based on this belief. Hitler also promoted vegetarianism within his inner circle and was influenced by a variety of ideas regarding health, purity, and animal rights. Some historians speculate that his vegetarianism may have been linked to his obsession with health and physical appearance, which was part of his larger ideal of a pure and healthy Germany. This fact contrasts with the image of him as a man associated with violence and brutality. Hitler was a dog lover. Hitler was particularly fond of dogs, especially his German Shepherd, Blondie. Blondie was his constant companion in the final days of World War II. It's been reported that Hitler would often spend hours with his dogs, and he was known for showing affection towards them. Hitler's bond with dogs was so significant that when he was in the Führer bunker in Berlin in 1945, he reportedly asked his personal dog trainer to bring Blondie to him despite the collapse of his political regime. Some suggest that his deep affinity for dogs may have been tied to his desire for loyalty and obedience traits that he valued greatly. Hitler's artistical aspirations. Before his rise to power, Hitler had a somewhat tragic and unfulfilled career as an artist. In his youth, he applied twice to the Academy of Fine Arts in Vienna, but was rejected both the times. His rejection was partly due to his lack of talent in the areas of figure drawing, which was considered essential for an academic artist at that time. Some biographers argue that his failure, combined with the harsh circumstances of his early life, may have contributed to his later frustration, insecurity, and the formation of extreme nationalist ideologies. Hitler's dream of becoming a painter was likely one of the earliest personal disappointments that shaped his worldview. Hitler was obsessed with health regimen. Hitler was obsessed with his health and appearance to an almost pathological extent. His personal physician Theodor Morel was known for providing Hitler with an array of medications for vitamins to more questionable substances. Hitler's health deteriorated during the war and he increasingly relied on the Morel's treatments. At times, when he was given amphetamine pills, which might have contributed to his erratic behavior during key moments of the war. His health problems ranged from gastrointestinal issues to chronic insomnia, and he was even reported to have used cocaine in some form as a stimulant, a detail often overlooked in popular narratives about his health. Occult fascination and pseudoscience. Hitler and many of his followers had a deep fascination with the occult and pseudoscience. While many people associate Nazism with extreme racial ideology, Hitler and some of his inner circles were influenced by a mix of occultism, mysticism, and pseudoscientific beliefs. He was known to be intrigued by esoteric philosophies and ancient Germanic myths. The Nazis also utilized elements of theosophy, which is a belief system that incorporates spiritual and mystical practices, and they searched for artifacts like the Spear of Destiny, which they believed had mystical powers. Heinrich Himmler, one of the Hitler's top aides, was especially interested in these practices and promoted them within the SS, that is, Sulzstaffel. Hitler's personal relationship and emotional coldness. Hitler's personal relationship were marked by emotional detachment and manipulative tendencies. His relationship with his niece, Geli Raubal, is one of the more peculiar and disturbing aspects of his private life. Geli lived with Hitler in his Munich apartment for a period, and their relationship was marked by obsessive control and possessiveness. She was not allowed to socialize with anyone, and some biographers suggest that Hitler may have been romantically infatuated with her. Geli eventually died in 1931 under mysterious circumstances, officially ruled as a suicide, though some suggest that Hitler may have been involved in her death. Additionally, Hitler's relationship with Eva Braun, whom he married in the final hours before they both committed suicide in the Führer bunker, was also atypical. Despite being romantically involved for many years, Hitler was known to have kept his relationship with Eva Braun extremely private, even though she had a significant role in his personal life. Hitler's ego and narcissism. Hitler's narcissism was extreme and reflected in many aspects of his life. He was known to be highly sensitive to criticism, and his self-image was a man of destiny and was central to his worldview. He was often described as having delusions of grandeur, believing that he was sent to Germany to lead it to greatness. In his later years, he would insist on the greatness of the German people and often referred to himself in grandiose terms. He would make speeches in which he considered his own life and decisions as being of extraordinary importance to the world future. Hitler failed to recognize the military reality. Despite his early military successes, Hitler was known for his micromanagement of military strategies, often overruling experienced generals and insisting on unrealistically military objectives. His refusal to heed advice from seasoned commanders and his constant interference in the battlefield decisions led to critical mistakes, especially in the later stage of the World War II. This tendency to prioritize his ideological belief over military pragmatism is one of the reasons for the Germany's defeat. For example, Hitler's insistence on not retaining in battles like the Battle of Stalingrad and the Battle of Kursk led to the annihilation of larger portion of the German army. Hitler was psychologically manipulative and charismatic. Hitler's ability to manipulate and control people is often noted but not always fully appreciated. His charisma and emotional appearance were extraordinary, and he had a profound ability to sway public opinion. He was a gifted orator capable of stirring emotions, rallying people to his cause through his speeches that mixed promise of national greatness with bitter hatred and resentment. His speeches often relied on repetitions and simple and emotive language designed to evoke strong reactions. This ability to manipulate not just political outcomes but also the emotions of his audience as a key element in his rise to power. Hitler was obsessed with propaganda. Hitler understood the power of propaganda more than most leaders. He relied heavily on his Minister of Propaganda, Joseph Goebbels, but also took a very personal hand in the creation of Nazi imagery and media. Hitler's use of mass rallies, film posters, and radio broadcasts were designed to create a sense of unity, mythologize the Nazi Germany, and glorify his own image. This was part of his desire for absolute control over the narrative and public opinion. One of the most well-known propaganda tools was the Nazi film Triumph of the Will, directed by Leni Riefenstahl, which glorified Hitler's image and showcased the power of the Nazi Party. So, what was Hitler's hobbies and distractions? In his spare time, Hitler was known to have enjoyed a few hobbies that might seem unexpected for someone so focused on war and ideology. He had a strong interest in architecture and urban planning and was deeply involved in the designing of Nazi monuments and buildings, including the development of Berlin as a city meant to represent the grandeur of Third Reich. He also had a strong passion for German folk music, and many reports suggest that he enjoyed listening to Wagner and other classical composers during his private moments. The Führer myth. Hitler created the Führer myth, a near religious adulations of his persona and leadership. He was portrayed as the ultimate savior of Germany, almost godlike in his mission to restore the nation's former glory. This myth permeated Nazi culture and was constantly reinforced by Nazi propaganda. Hitler was often described as a visionary leader who was beyond reproach, a person whose decisions were divinely inspired. This idealization of Hitler's role was one of the factors that led many people to follow him without question. These lesser known details about Hitler provide a more nuanced view of the man who played a central role in one of the history's darkest period. His eccentricism, contradictions, and personal flaws make him a more complex figure than what is often presented in the broad strokes of history. However, they do not distract from the magnitude of his crimes and the devastations caused by his ideology.